Hello and welcome to the M is for Mama podcast. I'm your host, Abby Halberstadt, happy wife, mama to 10. And on today's show, we're going to have such a blast. My friend Kat is on the show today. I met her on the internet. We'll talk all about how the internet can be a good thing when it connects people who are kindred spirits in this episode. And I think you're really going to be encouraged by her perspective on motherhood and so many things. Plus, she's just a blast to hang out with. And you guys get to hang out with us today. Before we dive into that conversation, I want to highlight our podcast sponsor, Your Tinkler. And yes, that ingenious company name is referring to women who struggle with pelvic floor issues, prolapse, any kind of heaviness or pain in your pelvic region. They have a research-proven program that can help you to regain strength and dignity without Kegels, surgery, or devices. I know we're just told this is a part of motherhood, but Your Tinkler believes that your body was made to heal. You can take their very quick pelvic floor quiz at tightenyourtinkler.com to see if this program would be a great fit for you. That's tightenyourtinkler.com. And you can use the code MAMA50 for $50 off. And of course, we have our lovely podcast sponsor, Voteberg Music Academy. If you want your kids to be engaged in and want to learn music, you can pay as little as $30 a month to do just that, sharing lessons between siblings in piano, guitar, fiddle, ukulele, and mandolin. You can use the code MSForMama20 for 20% off each month that you're enrolled in lessons with Voteberg. And you can earn badges, cash prizes mailed to your door, participate in student showcases, get face-to-face access with your instructor, have 24-hour access to lessons. This is not your average music program. If you're interested in learning more, go to votebergmusicacademy.com and don't forget to use the code MSForMama20 when you check out. Okay, friends, I have such a treat for you today. I have all kinds of guests on here, and I'm always so excited when my guests come on because they have such good information for you. And I'm not saying this guest doesn't have good information for you, because she does. However, I'm the most excited because the nature of my podcast is not one where I just have chats with people. Like we're just shooting the breeze. So on Instagram, you are catnaps 24/7, right?
Yes.
Yes.
But
okay.
I can't use a backslash on Instagram apparently. So it's just 247. And you were like, girl, that's too many numbers.
I know. My brain did not compute that at all. So I'm going to let Kat talk in just a second, but I have to say that my original username for MS for Mama was no periods in between. So people were like, misinformation, Miss for Mama. What is this? I don't understand what your username is. So sometimes we have to like trick the system to get people to understand. So yeah, I still think Cat and Chat is pretty good.
That's pretty good. I will try.
Have you checked it? You haven't looked at
Most of them are taken. Most of like cat with something that's quippy is taken, and it really bums me out.
Yes. Okay. So I'm going to let you dive into an intro. Tell us anything and everything you want us to know about you, catnaps 24/7.
Okay. Wow. Well, obviously, my name is Kat. I am a homeschooling, stay-at-home mom of 5 children. I have Henry, who is 10. Eleanor is 8. Phoebe is 6. Louise is 4. Yes. And then my youngest is Walter, and he is 9 months old. I live in Alabama.
We almost have a slow clap for her names.
Thank you.
Fantastic names.
It is.
Also, I've gotten to meet Walter in person, and it's the perfect little old man name for a baby, and I love it.
He's such a little chunk. He's so sweet. But no, actually, the names, there was almost a pretty significant slip up because Phoebe was going to be Louise. And then I was reading Romans and I changed it because I was like, wow, Phoebe is a Bible girl name. Are you kidding me? Like, this is a good name. Because I have not historically liked most of the biblical girl names. If you like those things, that's okay. I'm not, no,
you weren't going to have a Rachel or a Rebecca?
I wasn't going to have a Dorcas. I wasn't going to have a whatever. There's a couple in there that my husband would suggest just to mess with me. But Phoebe came up and I was like, wow, this is a great name. I need to use this name. And so she ended up being Phoebe. But if I had done what I originally planned, which was Louise, then Louise would be Phoebe. And my kids' initials, when the stockings were hung up, would be Henry, Eleanor, Louise, Phoebe.
Help!
So I'm very thankful for the Lord's kindness and like in that last minute switch, because now it's just Heppel.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's much better. But yes, I am married. I have been married for this will be 11 years.
She had to think about that
Um,
one, y'all.
I did have to think about that. So this will be 11 years. We met in high school and ended up getting married in after he finished college, and we moved immediately for him to do seminary. We said we were going to let him get his master's and then we would have kids. LOL. Then the Lord was like, here's a Henry. And so we had Henry, and I ended up, staying home. And so we, by a lot of turns of events, ended up back in Alabama. And he took on a pastoral role, and that's what he's been doing for all of this time, pretty much. Last year, right before Walter was born, we moved back closer to family and inherited his family's farmland. And so we're
Amazing.
living on about 30 acres in his grandparents' farmhouse, like the house that his dad grew up in, which is super sweet. And yeah, we are loving it. We're really getting our toes wet on a lot of different things, but we're having a fun time with it. A reason that I feel like Abby is a kindred spirit for me and I really like her a lot is because she's a mom of 10 and I am a child of 10. So I have 9 brothers and sisters, and we were homeschooled and had a blast growing up. And so I just love seeing her kids now, like as a mom, looking back at what my childhood was like, and just I'm very excited for your children and like what adulthood looks like for them.
I'm very excited for my children, what adulthood looks like for them. Like literally, I think about that because I have one older brother and we are good friends as adults, and our children are good friends as cousins.
Yeah.
But, and even though there's 14 of us, of the cousins, because we produced a lot of children between the two of us, it's not probably going to compare very likely to just the absolute crowd that by nature is going to exist going forward in generations. And that's just a really exciting prospect. Okay. So if people are like, this is so cool, she seems awesome, but like, how do you know her? Because I feel like that's the question. Like, where'd you find her?
Where'd she come from?
She's awesome. So tell us how anybody found you, because you're on the internet. Like I said, Catnaps 24/7. Go follow her. She's hilarious. But how did anybody find you on the internet? And why were you on the internet in the first place? Like, give us the down low on that.
Okay. Yeah. So,
the low down or the down low?
The down.
I think I said that backwards. Whatever.
The look of the low blows. In 2019, 2020, as somewhat of like a creative outlet, I had been posting just like random funny stories on my personal Instagram. And I had a lot of my friends be like, can you make this shareable? Like, this is so relatable. I want to share it with somebody. And I didn't want my private Instagram. I would have to make it public in order for people to be able to share anything that I did. And so I was like, I don't really want to do that. I kind of would like to have this as my private space. And then, so I was like, well, I guess I can just make another one. And so I made a different Instagram account. And it was
tell them the name. Tell them the name.
The Instagram account's name originally was Mediocre Momming 101. Because a lot of my bits and my jokes were about how I just did things not very well, like not influencer-y enough for it to be a thing. And so I would post silly videos of, it's really important that you give your kids crayons so that they can use them on all of your furniture if you really want to obtain a good aesthetic. And I would be like, if you want more mediocre momming tips. And so we can dive a little bit more into why my name is no longer Mediocre Momming. I bet most people who have read your book could guess. But that was my name for a while. And I never intended for it to be influencer level. I never intended for it to get big by any stretch of the imagination. However, I got my wisdom teeth out. And I have never had alcohol. I've never done drugs. I've never done that's not like a brag. That's just who I am. And that was the first time that I was ever sedated and given pretty heavy medication. And I woke up and I forgot that my children existed. And
I'm
so
like
my
trying not to
husband,
snort laugh right now.
I know my husband recorded because he was like, this is going to be funny. And I don't think he anticipated where I was going to go with that. So I wake up and I'm like looking around and I'm like, what are those about my car seats? And he's like, those are our car seats for all of our kids. And I had 4 at the time. So I said I would never share it, but then I was like, you know what? After a week, I was like, this is pretty funny. So I shared it and it went insane. It
Yeah.
went massive. And so from there, I have been blessed with more views and more interactions. And I'm the reason that I have stayed on it and keep doing it is number one, I think that laughter truly is a medicine. And there's very rarely, at least from what I've experienced, a presence on the internet of just genuine like joy, laughter, and it not being something that you feel bad about watching after the fact, or send it to
Mm.
somebody and be like, okay, watch the language.
Yeah.
And so I have stayed on the internet. I mean, I stayed on social media in that realm, mainly because I enjoy interacting with people. I enjoy laughing. And when I think something's funny, I'm like, there's a chance that somebody else is going to think it's funny. And
Yeah.
I just don't have a problem sharing that, even if it's very embarrassing, like forgetting all of your children.
Well, it ended up being like a 4-part series, and every single one of them went viral. And that's how I found you. I don't remember who shared it with me. They're like, have you seen this mom who just had her wisdom teeth out? And which I don't know that it was just. I'm like, I don't know how recent. Like, I think you said you waited a week, but it had been around for a while. I
Yeah.
think it was out for at least a year, and I'd never seen it. I stumbled upon it. And I'm like laughing, crying because y'all, she had so many accusations that she was faking, but
Oh,
she
yeah.
had like bloody like goo
Yeah.
coming out of the corner. There was no way you set that up. Like there's just no
I
way.
to this day don't remember that car
Yeah,
ride. Like
I
the only
believe you.
reason that I know that it happened is because I watched the video. But like by the time I got home, 30 minutes later, I came to and Garrett was like, "Do you remember the drive home?" And I was like, "No, I don't." So
My favorite part is when he finally convinces you that you have I mean, my very favorite part is you have one of the world's most expressive faces in the best possible way. And your look of utter flabbergasted shock as he's explaining the number of children that you have, much less any, but like 4 is is awesome. And 2, at one point it finally sinks in how many children you have, and you look down at your flat stomach and you say, "I look good." She's laughing at her own reaction. Y'all.
I know, vanity thy name is doped up cat.
Yeah. You weren't wrong though. You looked great.
I was apparently very, very proud of the way that I looked after having
It was a
children.
very matter of fact. It wasn't even vain. It was just like, wow. That's like, whoa, that's not what I was expecting to look like after 4 kids. Oh
Yeah,
my goodness. So I found this video. Someone sent it to me. I fully appreciated the zany, like, humor of it and sent it to my husband, and I reposted it. And we got another little mini viral thing. Like all these people were following you and telling me that they were following you and how much they loved you. And then I get this message that pops up in my inbox and it's from you. And she's like, "Oh my word." So I read your book. And at that point, Heart's Not the Same Thing as Bad may have been out or was just coming out. This is a couple of years ago.
Mhm.
But Emma's for Mama was like the main one that people
Mhm.
knew me for. And the subtitle is A Rebellion Against Mediocre Motherhood. And you told me something that was so kind and impactful. And I just loved that you shared it. But you said, I read this book a couple of years ago and it was such a game changer for me. Not because, like, you know, I saw my children as a burden or I hated being a mom, but just kind of like helped switch my mindset a little bit. And I had this account called Mediocre Momming 101. And as soon as I read the book, I like kicked that title to the curb. And I've been something else ever since because I didn't want to be associated with that. Like, that's truly not what my heart wanted to be. And 100% can I
Mhm.
vouch for the fact that Kat is doing a really amazing job of something unique, which is balancing truth because you spit straight facts with a kind of wholesome, clean humor that every mom can relate to without it being like, I relate to getting down in the mud and the muck of motherhood. It's just like, yeah, that legit happens. Yep, I've been there. But instead of being like, I've been there and it sucks, which is what so much of the quote unquote relatable humor about moms is on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I've been there, but she's right. It's still good. Like, it's all good. We love being moms.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that there have been times that people have tried to kind of co-opt your message. I remember one specifically around election time, and you were like, can we just get a mom as the president?
Yes.
And tell me what some of the comments were on that, because they were very funny. It was a wide range.
Yes, there was a wide range where I feel like most people understood where I was coming from and was like, yes, like a mom would be great. But then there were a lot of people who were like, there's somebody running who is a mom. And I was like, I didn't mean like that. No, that's not what I meant. I meant like a regular one of our moms, like what our mom would do. That's what I mean. I don't mean like a political mom. I mean a real one. And so there
Like the
were
ones
a
who
lot.
make the
There was a,
PB&Js. Yeah.
yup.
But typically I feel like your stuff steers pretty straight. When it goes viral, my friend Blake Guichet the other day, when the girl named Blake was like, listen, at a certain point when something goes viral, the comment section is no longer your own. Like, it's none of your business.
Yeah,
The
that
people
is true.
there aren't your people anymore. They have no point of reference for you. And I've definitely found this to be true, where you're like, I would be casting pearls before swine to be even like
Mm,
engaging with these people, because they're coming from a completely different perspective, or a hostile perspective, or like they've never met me before, or they saw a picture of me with my 10 kids, or a picture. You don't actually share your kids on the internet, so they know that you have 10 kids, and they're like, oh, she crazy, and then they're
yeah.
coming for you. Has there ever been a time where you feel like people have come for you enough that you've considered getting off the internet?
Oh man. I don't think so. And that is primarily because, and I've said this before, I'm very selective about whose opinion I care about,
Yeah.
because I have a certain capacity for intaking other people's opinions about me or anything in general. And so I make it a habit to be very selective about whose opinion I am going to let impact me, or I'm going to consider or think about. And strangers on the internet, they are really not up there. And for me, I would say the only time, honestly, was probably those wisdom teeth videos. That's probably like as close to like nasty comments as I've
Mm.
ever gotten, which I
Hmm.
think is just a kindness from the Lord. Because I'm sure that it is hard to stay present if you're constantly getting lashback from people who are just
Hmm.
unkind for sport.
Yeah.
I think that that would be really, really difficult. So I have a lot of respect for people like you and others who I would say are much bigger in this sphere and are more consistently putting things out and more consistently probably getting rash and harsh feedback. That's not something I've experienced a ton of. I think the most that I've experienced would be really more in direct messages from
Hmm.
people who have differing opinions. And sometimes, I mean, a lot of times I don't even read it, but then there are times where I have prayed through, would it be even be profitable to engage in a conversation with this person? And I think sometimes it is. And
Yeah.
there have definitely been times where I've interacted with someone who disagrees with me on uh, pro-life matters or things like that. And for me to be able to rationally talk with them, I think that they're very used to just like throwing out like a really inflammatory something and then somebody just blocks them. And
Yeah.
so to be able to engage with someone and actually have somewhat of a dialogue has been one of my favorite things about being on social media, because I'm like, I would never talk to you ever in real life, like in like day to day. I would never interact with you. So the fact that the Lord has put me in this place, I have this opportunity to interact with you. What would the Lord have me to say? what does scripture say? And how do I interact with you on something that we disagree with in a way that's respectful of the fact that you are created in the image of God and
Yeah.
you are thereby inherently worthy of my respect as just a person.
Yeah.
And so I've had really good interactions, and there have been times where, somebody has asked me something, and I was just like, you know what? A really great place to start would be just read the Gospels. It
Yeah.
explains so much of what Jesus thinks, and it gives you all of the information that you would need about his life and the way that he interacted with these kinds of peoples and these kinds of people. And they actually did it. And they came back and were like, I've never read this before. And it's been kind of mind blowing to me. And so yeah, I will probably stay on as long as there are profitable conversations to be had and encouragement to be given.
I love that answer. And anybody watching the video of this is watching me smile and just basically nod my head off. Kat said that she considered me a kindred spirit, which I consider the highest compliment. Thank you, and Shirley. And I consider you a kindred spirit. Like, it's like I think we have some very different personality traits, but we have some very overlapping ones. And hearing you talk is like listening to myself from 10 years ago. And people hearing you just now, even our low voices, like we kind of have these low,
We do.
growly voices and a loud laugh and all this stuff. I think people are hearing a lot of echoes of things that I say often. What you're saying about not devaluing, maybe you are devaluing, maybe that's totally fine, but not like subverting someone else's opinion and, like you said, looking at them as lesser than because they disagree with you, but not giving them undue influence or say in your life when they don't actually have an investment in your life. They've never met you face to face. They haven't spent any time with you in the room watching you parent your kids. They're not married to you. They're not your sister. They're not your mentor at church. They're not your pastor. They're not
Mhm.
your even neighborhood barista that you see 3 days a week or whatever. They should not have nearly as much of a hold on us as so many people are giving them on the internet. And so just listening to you, I'm like, yes, preach, listen to Kat on this one. Do not give away your peace to people that have no business holding it because they're not going to handle it well. And
Wow.
then two, what you said about deciding which DMs to engage with, I am doing this all the time. Same with, like, say, blocking someone, which I don't block a lot of people. I block the really obvious ones like creepy dudes. I'm like, why are you even here? It's a motherhood account. Like,
Yeah,
no,
they're like, will you be my princess? And you're like,
I know. Can I be your
no,
sugar daddy? No, thank you. No, thank you. Oh, pass. So tempting, but no.
I have
Um,
10 kids, buddy.
yeah, I know exactly. How much sugar do you have? Um, we need a lot of sugar in this house, which I'm laughing because we bake all the time. So the amount of sugar we go through when we bake is yeah, it's a little literal.
Yeah.
But there are other times where someone is just, they're just not nice, and they're not trying to be. It's almost like they're trying to be as offensive as possible. And in some
Mhm.
cases, like I remember a couple of like almost um like hate form anti-Christian letters that got sent around to like all my friends that just use the most disgusting vile language you can use, almost in a way of like, let me pick words that are revolting and put them
Yeah.
together in a sentence that barely, honestly, it sounds like a demon. It sounds like a demon spewing
Wow.
sentences.
Wow.
You're not going to pay any attention to that. But then there's the people that are vehemently disagreeing with you, but are clearly so lost. They're not really disagreeing with you as a person, they're disagreeing with the truth of the gospel.
Hmm.
And you have to recognize that that's not going to go well for them.
Hmm.
And that if you've been given this opportunity to be a kind, respectful ambassador for the gospel, then it's incumbent upon you to at least pray about whether you should engage.
Yeah.
Sometimes
Yeah.
what happens is exactly what you say. You say, hey, go read John. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And nothing has been made except by Him, and from Him, and to Him, and through Him. That's not from John, are all things. To Him be the glory forever and ever. Amen. Like,
Hmm.
you're hoping that that's what they come away with, and you never hear from Him again, or they come back and go, you know, the
Yeah.
Holy Spirit did not enlighten their minds. And other times you get to have this long conversation that might go on for months, and they receive Christ as their savior, or they are still thinking about it and you're able to pray for them, but that connection is there. So yeah,
Yeah.
making the choice on a case by case prayerful basis is so key.
Yeah.
So you and I have gotten to hang out in person,
Yes.
and it was glorious.
It's true. It
Um,
is.
So, Kat, I remember when I was talking about sending you My Heart Is Not the Same Thing's Bad book, which I don't think I ever made it to the post office. The post office is my Achilles heel. I'm terrible. But she was like, listen, I don't give people my personal address, but I'm going to give you my personal address. I was like, oh, I'm so honored, genuinely. And then I never sent you a book, I don't think. So that was pathetic. But then I invited you to my house. And
Yes.
when I did that, what was your like first thought? What was your first reaction?
My first reaction was, is this a spam account that is trying to lure me into some weird place in Texas?
No, it was not.
But I think my first thought was, she would never do this, and I would never do this. So there has to be a reason that both of us feel comfortable with this potential idea happening. And when she invited me, I never do this kind of thing. And so I'm not a big traveler. I don't go to strangers' homes, but I remember I told my husband about it. I was like, do you remember this book that I read, Mediocre Momming? Not Mediocre Momming, the M is for Mama. And I was like, well, the author has invited me to her home. And I think that
he was probably like, what, girl?
He was like, hey, what? I said, I think I might want to do it. And he asked me why. And I told him, I said, because I was like, when I read her book, I said, number one, it was super encouraging to me, super convicting, really formative. But I also remember reading it and thinking we would be friends in real life. Like if we ever met each other, we would actually be friends. And you think that you see somebody on social media, you read a book, you like listen to a podcast, and you're just like, wow, I jive with this person. We would be friends. And then it never actually comes to fruition, obviously, most of the time. So when the opportunity arose, I was like, this is it. This is how we're going to be friends in real life. So I'm going to do it.
So I invited her to come to the book launch party for You Bet Your Stretch Marks. And I mean, we had literally been like, we had voice memoed each other. I didn't like invite her after that one conversation we had where she was like, I read your book. And I was like, okay, you want to come to my house?
You want to come hang out at my house with me?
And so I just had this idea. She said, oh, I really want to come to your book launch party. Like, did I miss the tickets? And I was like, no, you didn't. You should come, but also you should stay with me because our guest room is wide open and you can bring your baby. And she was like, okay, let me talk to my husband, which the story you told me was that he was totally like, you should go, which I'm like, that's good husband material right there. And so I picked you up from the airport and Walter was with you. And we had 3 very, very fun days where we prepped. I mean, she sat on my living room floor stuffing gift bags for the party attendees and nursing Walter while I got my signature like book cover nails done. And we chatted with the nail ladies in there about
that
all
was
the things.
so cool. That was so
that the
fun.
day that Patrick Mahomes' mom was in there?
Oh, I don't know. If
there was a day, I can't remember if you were in there or not, but there was a day that I was getting my nails done. And I don't go very often, but context clues. I finally like caught up on the fact that Patrick Mahomes' mom is sharing like about their daughter, like, which would be her granddaughter, Golden. And I've never heard of her before, but there were enough context clues that I was like, oh, this is a famous person. Cool. I think it was a different lady in there with you that time. Okay. My daughter Della rode around with us to do all the things.
I'm a huge Della fan.
Tell me about how you feel about Della.
Della is genuinely one of my favorite people that I have ever met. I don't know how to express to you. This is where my endorsement for Abby is going to come in, guys. When you hang out, like you see somebody online and you're like, okay, and then you like read their stuff and you're like, well, most people can put good ideas into it, but when you actually hang out with their teenage daughter, okay, and that person is as cool as Della is and as articulate and engaging and funny and fun and just joyful, you realize, okay, this woman, and obviously the Lord, and the dad and all these people. Like, a lot has gone into this, but Abby is putting her money where her mouth is, and the fruit of her children it's so evident that they have cultivated like this culture in their family that enables them to be unique in their own personalities, be able to talk to anyone and everyone. Della was holding Walter for me. We were shopping around. Abby would be in a dressing room picking out something, and I would hold something up to Della and be like, "Do you?" And she's like, "Mom would not like that." I'm like, "Okay." And like, we would both pull things out, and she knew you so well to be able to say, "Don't even show her that." But Della is truly one of the coolest teenagers I have ever met. And just a joy, like an absolute joy. And it so speaks to how you have raised her and what you have poured into her. And just y'all's dynamic and relationship was an absolute delight for me to watch.
Oh, that is I was not asking you to come on here to give me an endorsement. You know that, but that really, I mean, that encourages me.
I'm gonna do it.
You go and do it.
Do it.
That encourages me so much to hear someone speak so kindly about my daughter, because I agree with you on every single count. In fact, I can't remember what the context was, but people were asking Della to come on the podcast, and I think we're going to do it. I asked her, and she was like, "Yeah, let's do it." And she, if any 15-year-old could pull it off, she could. She's exactly what you say. She's poised and even keeled and funny and cheerful and friendly. She's who I want to be when I grow up. So
very much
I am just as big a fan of her as you are. And that makes, no mom doesn't like to hear her children gushed over like you just did for Della. So thank you. And also thank you for being just like that in person to her, because she had so much fun with you. I mean, that is a thrill for a 15-year-old to, at that age, you're kind of wanting to level up. You're wanting to be included with the adults. And as you say, she can hang, and she loves you too.
Oh, I love her.
So tell me, you mentioned that you're one of 10.
Yes.
Just like my kids, and that you loved it, and that you're happy for my kids going forward, and what their future is going to be like. Tell me more about that. Tell our readers, I always say that. Tell listeners more about that. Why do you think that's something to look forward to for a family of many?
Oh my goodness. We had so much fun in childhood, as just like a pack. Like, there was just a whole little pack of us all the time. So childhood was always so entertaining and multifaceted, and there was always somebody there, which, if you're an introvert, may not be your favorite thing ever. But for us, it was very much, it was life-giving for all of us to have each other. And we just had a blast all the time. And man, we fought all the time. But we really, truly, the Lord, I think, blessed and helped us to create a really good dynamic of a closeness, which was very providential, because going into my senior year of high school, my parents got divorced. And so that closeness and stability that we had with each other, I truly believe the Lord used to kind of stabilize us when our parents were no longer a very stabilizing force for us in a time of a lot of difficulty for them. We had each other, and we were able to rely on each other and encourage each other and walk with each other through really hard, dark days. And now in adulthood, so my youngest brother is 25, 26. I think he'll be 26 this year. So we're all adults. And now what that looks like is I don't even know how to describe it. Just you have these friends who know everything about you. You have such a shared experience from growing up. Whether or not you look back on it in the same light or same way, you have that shared experience together, and you are able to relate to each other, call each other out, encourage each other in a way that I don't think any other friendship could provide. And so I think it's very interesting to me, because I have had a lot of people, and I don't have as many kids as my mom or you, but I have had people kind of question me on, when I announced that I was pregnant with Walter, a lot of people kind of came into my direct messages and were like, well, how are you going to be there for all of your other children
Yeah.
if you're having
Yeah.
another? Because, we all have our capacities. We all have the way that we parent. And there's this expectation of how can you give 100% all the time, 100% of the time to all of your children?
Yeah.
And I mean, the short answer is you can't, and you couldn't do that even if you had one kid.
Exactly.
And so I think it's a reasonable question to say, you should be prayerful about what the Lord has given you and how you're able to steward that well. I think that's a good question to ask. But what I saw growing up with a lot of siblings was my relationship with my parents was very important, but it wasn't the only relationship.
Yeah.
It wasn't the only formative thing that was happening in my life as a child. And so this idea that children can only be molded or grow from a mom or from a dad is just not accurate. I
Yeah.
was deeply impacted and molded and changed as I grew by my siblings. And they offered things for me that my parents never could, that friends never could. And so when you have these large families, everyone kind of acts like, oh, like these poor children they're left isolated and they don't have anything. And it's like, that's not true. And I'm not advocating for like the children should raise the children. I know that that's a huge argument that people are like, we can stop parentifying all your kids.
Right.
But seeing how my sibling relationship formed me and how the Lord used that, it gives me a lot of confidence and a lot of hope in that the Lord is wisely placing each sibling in my children's lives around them. And as intricately and purposefully he picked me to be their mom, he's also designed their siblings. And there is a dynamic there and a gifting there that I couldn't do on my own. And so, yeah, having a lot of siblings is a blessing. It is, yeah, I think it's a fantastic thing. And so if I could give my children 5 more siblings, I would be all about it.
I love that. And I'm just over here nodding like, listen, I don't need to say anything because this girl is preaching the truth and spitting straight facts. I know there will always be the people that come in and say, okay, I was one of 8. It wasn't a blessing to me. My siblings and I are adults and we're not close.
Mm-hmm.
It happens. It's true. There are a lot of hardships in life that can lead to that scenario. There's a lot of influence we have as parents to set the tone in our homes for
Mm-hmm.
sibling interactions to help facilitate the kind of influence, the positive influence that you're talking about. Not like you said that no one ever fights or disagrees. That happens too, for sure. But that it's not the absolute like bedrock of the relationship, because there
Mm-hmm.
will be people that tell you that their only relationship with their sibling was disagreement, and that's heartbreaking,
Mm-hmm.
but it is some people's reality. So
Yeah.
while I don't have a universal solution, I want to acknowledge that, but also say it doesn't change the fact of the principles that I'm going to absolutely yes and amen, where you're saying, guess what? It benefited me to have someone other than just my parents
Mm-hmm.
helping form my thoughts and my habits and my relationships and my stability, like you said, going forward. And that is something that I have always taken um, as a blessing and a comfort. And I've had to be reminded. I remember it was probably like 6 or 7 years ago when someone first presented me with this idea that like, because they were probably 10, 15 years ahead of me. And they were like, wait. All these people are so worried that you have 6 kids or 5 kids or how many kids I had at the time, probably 6 or 7. Um, why are they? I'm just like realizing how old I am. 6 or 7 years ago, I had like, I don't know, 12 kids. That's more than I have now.
You're like, I haven't always had 10.
came out of the womb with a bunch of kids. But let's say I had 7 kids and people
Mm-hmm.
were doing the same thing. How are you going to take care of them all? How are you going to meet
Mm-hmm.
every single need? How are you going to individualize things enough, give enough attention to detail, listen to them, all these things? And of course, the answer is intentionality and consistency and
Yeah.
prayerful submission to God's will, because he can fill in the gaps. But the other answer is exactly what you're saying. They have confidants, they have playmates, they have work study partners, they
Mm-hmm.
have project builders. And I mean, I was just listening, but when we just started, to my two older boys grunting and clanging iron in our workout room. And my oldest came in and was like, just bench 200, mom. I'm like,
Yes.
awesome. Way to go. Well, it's his younger brother that is training him because he has a training certification. It's not me. I'm
Yeah.
not the one training him to bench 200.
Mhm.
That's Simon's job, you
Yeah.
know? And I didn't even train Simon to do that. Like, I'm not where he got that certification or even that
Mm-hmm.
desire. I just prayerfully poured into
Yeah.
helping them, if at all possible, forge the kind of relationship that at 19 and 18, they're in there pumping iron together, which makes my heart so happy.
I love it. I love that so much. But yeah, I think that it's a lot of people try to make you afraid of growing your family or having more kids or anything like that. And that's not, I don't say that to be like, oh, there are no complexities in their personalities.
Sure.
That it doesn't increase the demand on your capacity or your time. It does.
Yes.
But in the same way that, when I had one kid, the Lord gave me enough for life and godliness for that child. And then he grew me. And then I had two. And then I had the capacity and the ability to raise two children well, because that's what he gave me. And he
Yeah.
says that he's given me all that is needed for life and godliness. And that
Yes.
includes the number of children that I have. And so that requires discipline. That requires, like you were saying, consistency. And it is a very doable thing. And it's doable like in an enjoyable way. I
Yes.
love my children. It is an absolute delight. I always knew that I wanted to be a mom. I graduated high school and I immediately went into work because I was like, I don't need to go to college because I know what I want to do, and that's be a mom, and I don't have to go to college to do that. And
Yeah.
so I just started working, and then I got married, and then the Lord blessed me with children, and I've been able to walk in this role, and I am perpetually grateful, and it is so much fun. They are so much fun, and so I love, and that was another spin on me trying to change from that whole like tagline of mediocre momming, where you in your book you said sacred sameness, and
Mm.
changing it to, hey, like let's not all get together and like lump up about how miserable raising our children is. Let's laugh about the absolute insanity that comes from being a mother, the things that are exhausting and overwhelming, and that's fine. But let's also just spur each other on to good works, and
Yes.
having a positive and a joyful mindset about being a mom. And that's something that people have asked me about. They're like, you seem to have so much fun with your kids, and I'm just like, why would I not?
Yeah.
They're so incredible, and it's so much fun, and I have this opportunity to cultivate their home and their life
Absolutely.
and their upbringing, and like the Lord has blessed me with that, and I get to do that. And that, so my kids say hilarious things and
Yeah.
do weird things, and I'm like, they got that from me. I taught them that. For
Yeah.
my 4-year-old was falling off the couch, and she grabbed onto the coffee table as I was vacuuming, and she said, "Ska, brother, help me." And I just lost it. And I was like, that's my kid right there.
Yeah, it
I did
is.
that. And so as they grow, I get to see more and more like, oh, that was a seed I planted. And sometimes it's just funny quotes from a movie. And then other times it's my 10-year-old speaking truth to his 8-year-old sister, or my little girl tenderly caring for her baby brother. And I'm just like, these are such good things, and it's just a joy. And I think that you encourage people to think this way, and you encourage mothers in this. And it's not, that the tagline is everybody needs to have a million kids in order to have like this
Right.
positive attitude. It's everybody needs to believe scripture and believe what it says about children, and believe what it says about being a mom, and then also believe what it says that the Lord is giving you what you need. He really
Yes.
has. And you can lean into that, and you can press into that, and you can be encouraged. And so, yeah, I just love it so much.
Man, that was the best pep talk to end this podcast with, which sadly we have to do. We could sit here and chat for forever. But I mean, you just took us to church. I really, really appreciate that I am basically hearing mirrored back to me what I am continually trying to impress upon fellow moms, which is, yes, there will be days where it feels like a burden. Yes, there are times when our systems are really not great and we find ourselves drowning, and we kind of have to recalibrate and, like you said, have some discipline and change our prayer habits. But God's power is always there waiting for us. And there is joy and there is fun, and we can like our kids, and yes and amen to all of that.
Yeah.
Kat, I'm going to have everybody go follow you on Instagram. Is there anywhere else they
Even
can
though
find
it's
you?
hard to find.
Oh, we'll link it. It'll be easy. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, of course. I hope we get to hang out in person again very soon.
Very soon. I'm trying to get together a poll people to get Abby to come to Alabama. So if you live in Alabama, and you find me or follow me, I want you to DM me. And so I have hard proof to Abby, like, hey, there are people that want to meet you.
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll go with that. I'll bring Della with me.
Yes.
Yes.
I love it. All right.
All right.
Hey, I want to take a picture really quick.
Yeah. Okay, go. She's taking a picture of me while we're on a podcast.
Yeah, I just have to document it.
Yeah. All right. Y'all have a great rest of your week. And Kat, thanks for being on here. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
If you enjoy the MS for Mama podcast, I would be so honored if you would subscribe and follow along, maybe share with friends, or even leave a review. And if you want more content on motherhood and biblical responses to cultural issues, be sure to follow along on Instagram at m.is.for.mama.